Stereotypes around young people very often associate them with violence, treating them more as a threat than anything else. Insecuritized responses to young people, hard security approaches that make young people more frightened of their governments than anyone else, and this is completely counterproductive.
Peace education strives to create understanding and a common ground on strategies that benefit groups, individuals that are in conflict.
The children of today, they are the leaders of the 2063, but the young people of today, they are leaders of today.
Be mindful of what we do, especially for the digital hygiene part. It's really important.
Because most of the time when we look at the victims or people who are affected, we look at them as in form of numbers. We don't look at the potentials that they can bring into the conversation. And I think it is very important that not only the youth that have been victims, but every youth need to be meaningfully engaged, as well as also recognize what they can do and for them to be appreciated for what they have done.
Socio-economic integration in East Africa, it can only succeed if peace, stability, and security are established in the region. Article 124 of the treaty establishing the East African Community is very clear on issues of security, but also the strategies that we take to ensure our people move across the borders in East Africa with a lot of peace.
The need to change the narrative that young people are essentially perpetrators of violence and victims of violence.
Article 120 of the treaty calls on partner states to develop a common approach towards marginalized groups, including children and young people, EAC integrations without getting the youth involved. Long live the East African community. Long live the young leaders. May God bless you all. Thank you for your kind attention.
Hello everyone. Let me check if you can hear me. Do like this if you can hear me. Yes, I see. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning to those who might be somewhere else. So yeah, I'm so happy to have you all, those who have already joined. I see people from South Sudan, people from Burundi, people from, let me see, from Kigali. I'm trying to think, people from Kampala, people from Arusha, but we are going to say where we are, so I stopped guessing. My name is Kazeneza Iget. I am Burundian. I work at ULEAD as a regional coordinator and youth peace and security lead. I am so happy to be your host today. And today we are going to talk about something which we have very much on our heart, young women or women in general and peace and security. But before that, I want to welcome everyone. Just let me see if you people can just open and say hi. Let's see, let's start with Marta Chikafa. I hope I didn't murder your name. Hi, Marta, just say hi and tell us where you are. Okay, while Marta is coming, Let's see who can say. Dumebi Zubi. Hey Zubi. You can mute your mic and say hello.
Okay, hi, I'm Dumebi from Nigeria.
Well, I'm so happy we have Nigerians today. Thank you very much for coming. Let's see. I see someone called Saliba Sebit. Hello, Saliba. Sabila, sorry, Sabila.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sabila Sebit. I'm from South Sudan, this side of Tonj.
Oh, welcome very much. Let's see. I'm trying. Noel Furanzima. Oh, Noel, I think he has joined without the mic. We can just go to Monique Nkambule. Monique or Moniz? I don't know if I read well. Hello. You guys don't want to speak to me today? Okay. Let's see. Lerato. Hey, today I'm having very hard names. Lerato Mokezane. Hello, Lerato.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am good. Where are you from?
I'm from the Mountain Kingdom of Lesotho.
Wow. Okay. That's very nice to hear. Thank you very much for coming and for being here. And I'm so happy we have a lot of women today. Divine the women.
Not a problem.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm Burundian.
You are Burundian, turning from Bujumbura?
Yes.
Yes, welcome very much.
Thank you.
Grace Musioka. Hi, Grace.
Hello, my name is Grace Musioka. I'm from Kenya.
Karibu sana, Grace.
Asante.
I see Awat Vastin Hakim. Awat, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Awat Vastin from South Sudan, but attending from Uganda.
Thank you very much, Awate from South Sudan, for being here. I am so happy. We have almost all women. Let me see if we have some men here. I think George is a man and one is Stephen. You guys can say hello.
Hello, Mawa George Lazarus from Juba, South Sudan. Happy to be here.
I am happy too to see you.
Yeah, happy to see you too. Good. Thanks.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I'm Wani Steven. I'm Wani Steven from South Sudan and a consortium member to the ULIT.
Thank you very much.
Under the docket of ADNET. Thank you.
Karibu sana. I'm so happy. And I'm sure Fiona is also happy with me and the whole team of ULIT. Let me say, I think there are one or two people I haven't said. Hi, Judy. Judy is quite a member of the Unplugged series. Judy, hi. Hello, Judy. Okay, I think Judy is not able to speak. I'm seeing some people who have joined without their mic. Maybe if our team can just text them privately to let them know how they can join, that would be great. Thank you again very much for everyone who is here. I am so happy to host this discussion of today with two great women. One from South Sudan and another one from Burundi. I will ask them if it's possible when they are talking to open their videos so that people can see them. Unless opening your video will interfere with your connection, but if it's possible, you can just open. Again, thank you very much. As I said, today we are going to have an open discussion about the role of women and young women, especially in peace and security. This month is a month of women, and we wanted really to celebrate young women and women in general who have been doing a lot in the areas of peace and security. So thank you very much to everyone, and especially to the women who are here. As we are going to celebrate the two women who will be talking to us, we are celebrating every woman who is here and in your capacity in what you have been doing. So karibu sana for this discussion. Someone was asking me if we register this discussion. Yes, actually the discussion is ongoing is live on our YouTube channel, on our and on our social media, Facebook and Twitter. So after this meeting, you can even just go and share with your friends through those 3 channels. I want to start first with Christine. Christine, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Very good. Is it possible to see your face?
Definitely.
Very good. I will be happy to see your face. If you can open your video. Very good. I can see you. Yes.
Yes.
So I will start with you, and just so people who are here and me, we can get to know a little bit about Christine. Who is this Christine? And I will go even further. I want to know what is your favorite South Sudanese food and your favorite song. So I'm here to know Christine.
Okay, thank you, Keneza. Kezeneza, sorry.
It's okay.
I am Christine Kide, a passionate South Sudanese young woman, passionate about peace building, youth and women's rights. And I'm also a gender mainstreaming trainer, and I work at Community Empowerment for Rehabilitation and Development as a program assistant. At the same time, I'm the national coordinator for the South Sudan Youth Organization Coalition. And what do I like? What food? Christine loves a food called, we call it basiko. It's a mixture of, I don't know how I can call this particular green in English, but it's made with simsim paste, raw simsim paste. Yeah, so it's a delicacy here.
I think I need to do a research on what is simsim.
Oh my goodness! We have simsim.
My colleagues know simsim, so it's only me who doesn't know.
Yeah, it's only you who doesn't know simsim. So yeah, that's a delicacy in South Sudan. And what music do I love? I love this song from Sinachi, I Know Who I Am, because it speaks a lot to my life, and it keeps inspiring me to take up my places, spaces, and also it energizes me to keep working and doing what I love.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. And I promise I'm going to do a research to know what is simsim.
Please do. And besides that, we have a lot of delicacy cuisines, South Sudanese cuisines. Take your time reaching here. You will not wish to go back to Burundi. Trust me.
Okay. I hope my colleagues here are listening. I need to travel to South Sudan. So
please, you're welcome anytime.
Thank you very much. I see Emmeline has already opened her video, so I was going to ask Emmeline. Emmeline, you too, tell us, who is this Emmeline? Me, I know Emmeline, I think for now, how many years? We are in 2022, I think 4 years now. We are becoming long-term friends. So tell us, who is Emmeline and your favorite food and your favorite song.
Thank you, Iget. I'm Emmeline Hakizimana from Burundi. I am 29 years old, and I'm passionate about peace building. I participated in peace building programs since 2015, and I have participated in the creation of an Institute of Scientific Research for Development, which did many researches in Burundi related to peace building. And I worked as a consultant researcher at the Centre d'Alerte et de Prévention des Conflits. And I like reading. And I like sharing with others about peace and security. As food, I like meat. And,
okay, which kind of meat we want to know?
Goat.
Goat, wow.
My favorite song is Burundi Boachu, because it's a song which remember me where I come from as Burundian, and what I have to do for my country and for my community. Thank you, Iget.
By the way, Burundi Boachu is our national anthem. So guys, so that you can understand. I'm a little biased, Christine, don't beat me for that.
I have a big support behind. I'll deal with you.
I know, I have seen. Yes. So I'm so happy. Actually, I want to open to everyone who wants to tell us what is your favorite food and your favorite song. Just write on the chat. I will be taking a few minutes to read what other colleagues. As I said, today we have a lot of women in this discussion, and I'm happy. I would like to hear what women like in terms of food and songs. Yeah, so let's go a bit into our discussion. You guys have heard the theme of this year for the International Women was about gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow. And my question to both of you is gender equality something important for a peaceful society? If I can elaborate more, men could just be continuing to be power men and just not care about women? Do you think that really would take us to a peaceful society, or we really need to see women also there? So I don't know if Christine wants to start. Christine, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can take it on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this year's theme speaks a lot, most especially to South Sudan context. Mm-hmm. South Sudan is a country that a country whose population is 60%, almost 60% female, and for any society to develop, majority of its population should be engaged in economic activities that contribute towards the national development. So when you talk about gender equality today for a sustainable tomorrow, we look at what percentage of South Sudan's population is engaging in economic development activities or employment spaces. Majority of this, close to 60% population of women in South Sudan are illiterate, and that cuts them out from engaging in economic activities, and they have no access to resources that can inspire them or encourage them to engage in economic activities in terms of land or capital to run up small businesses and things like that. So for us to ensure that South Sudan develops at a diverse level, we really need to engage the biggest population of the country into engaging effectively in economic development. So I think it is very important for South Sudan as a country to look into how they can use the women, the female resource in the country to develop economically. We are going through an economic challenge right now as a country, and majority of this population is not engaging economic activities. So it becomes a very big challenge to get us out of it. So that is one thing I can say, that it is very important for us for gender equality to be a center of economic or national development. So another thing also I will mention is that for a country to also progress, it needs a level of people who are educated, a level of people who are creative, a level of people who can push for things to happen, maybe in terms of decision-making processes. And we see in our South Sudan context that women are not anywhere close to those spaces. Most especially when you look into our political environment, we have the 35% affirmative action that was accorded to women during the high-level revitalization forum, and it was ascended into the peace agreement. But we see that it's not creating an impact. We see still that women are being left out in decision-making process, and the government is not committing to the implementation of this 35% of affirmative action. And we see that as a blow that things are not moving well, because if we have at least 35% affirmative actions, a representation of women in decision-making spaces, I'm sure women will put in the belief and the attitude of a peace builder, and ensuring that they want things for the common for the common people. Because first of all, we know women are peacemakers. We know women are mothers, and they love their children, they love their husbands, they love their society to progress. So if they are given opportunities to engage in such spaces, we will see a bit of change. But as long as they are left out, it becomes a very big challenge. And also,
okay, go on. Go on.
I will also say that the aspect of saying that empowering or educating a woman is educating a nation. When you look at the majority, for example, if the majority of South Sudan are educated, that is to say the women, we will see a number of women, girls and boys going to school, but instead right now we are seeing an increased number of street children, and a lot of frustration and distress in terms of economic challenges, in terms of insecurities, and in terms of a lot of other things that I can just not mention within this time frame.
Thank you very much, Christine. What I like is the linkage you made between development and peace. Without development, we can't talk about peace, because when people are hungry, there is no peace. Exactly. Even if there is no active war, people are not okay, and you can wait for something to happen anytime. So thank you very much for bringing out that idea. Emmeline, what do you think really? Do we need gender equality to talk about peace, or we can just let it be? Is not something important?
Thank you, Biayet. It is important to talk gender equality when we're talking about peace. As you may know, women, like men, play an important role in conflict or in war. So they need to play an important role also in the building of the nation, in the building of the economies, in the building of their society. So if gender equality is not taken into consideration, we cannot talk about development, we cannot talk about peace building when there is a part of people who are discriminated, for example. So according to me, the role of women in the development of a country is important. We can see it in our country, where we meet some women organizations who contribute for development of the country, for the development of their communities. Without them, we can't say that we are living peacefully when there are a human rights which are not respected. Yeah, I can say so.
Thank you very much. I like this discussion. You guys are bringing things which normally people don't bring. Emmeline said something. Women are also involved in conflict. Many times when we talk about peace and security, people will jump out and start saying, oh, women are victims. But they forget that sometimes women are also cause of conflict. They can fuel conflict and do things and cause even violence. So thank you to show that we are not just talking about in terms of one side, but the both sides being victim of a conflict or being a perpetrators. It can be both sides. Thank you very much. Let me just, I wanted to read a few things. Oh, someone said my favorite food dish is matoke, banana with senene. Oh my God, this is from Crescens. Yeah, I love listening 90s love songs. Let's see, who is this one? Marta said she loves sima. Sima is like ugali, I think, and fish. She's from Malawi. Vestine loves Basico like Vastine Awate loves Basico like Christine and inspirational songs. Who else said something? Dumebi, Zubi said she likes jollof rice. And Noel said food is sima na kuku. Kuku is chicken for those who don't understand Swahili. So my next question is, I think you guys will have seen a lot of Twitter posters, Facebook, Instagram, where people were doing these things, break the bias. How do we make sure we break the bias in terms of peace and security? How do we break the bias in when we are talking about gender equality and to include women? How do we do that? And again, to our audience, you guys can write. I will be reading your answers. Christine, go on.
Okay, thank you. How do we break the bias? You know, like I was just looking at the posts people were making on social media, and one particular post of a friend of mine caught my attention, where she was in a meeting or workshop, and they decided to bring in the hotel chef to come and testify to the audience that breaking the bias, some gender stereotypes, like things to do like cooking is not a gender role, but it is a life skill. So that really caught my attention, and I was like, okay, now this is good, because if the chef is a male in the hotel and he can come out and say, yeah, I am proud doing this as my life skill and I'm earning out of it, it is something that we can start thinking that it can transform people's minds. And also, I think the basis of trying to break this bias is for people to start having conversations about gender stereotypes. As at the moment we start understanding that some of those gender roles we assume are actually not gender roles, but life skills. It is, I think, the point where we can start changing the attitudes and perceptions of people on issues to do with gender bias. And also another thing is empowering and supporting women to take up leadership roles and building their capacity to take up decision-making positions. For example, like in South Sudan, women were given 35% affirmative action in the revitalized peace agreement, but we see that this is not fulfilled, but still there are women who are taking up their spaces. Like, for example, we have young parliamentarians in the current reconstituted parliament, and majority of them are young women who have decided to take up their places, you know, to break that bias and making people think they can do better. They can do better than one society thinks about them. And there's this particular friend of mine who is a legislator in our parliament who was to represent her constituency, and it pushed them to a point that they had to go and consult the community whether she should be appointed to this particular position. And the society was like, okay, we agree she's competent, she's capable, but still she's a young woman. So why should we have a young woman take up this place? You know. So for changing the mindset of such kinds of people is by getting those spaces and prove to the people that you can do better than what they think about you. And also one thing I can say is that when we have equal distribution of resources and allocations of access to opportunities, resource opportunities is also key in terms of breaking the bias. Before now, in our society, women were not allowed to own land. There is one thing to own a property, and it's also another to have access to it. Before, our women used to have access to resources like land, but it is a family property where the man is the head and owns the property. So the woman will just be made to farm. And when she farms, the decision of the outcome of this farming lies with the husband. He's the one who is going to take the food to the market. He will sell them, and he decides what to use the money for. But right now we have an opportunity that where women can buy land. Women buy land, women build houses, they have their own properties in their names, and they use it as an opportunity to economically empower themselves. And when you see that happening in a society, it means that women are trying to break the bias. They're breaking that bias that people used to think that they cannot amount to anything, or they cannot have an access to these resources and use them the best way. And also another thing is that before, we know the thing of girl child inheritance. Up to now, we have families and societies where they think that a girl cannot earn any inheritance from her father because she's a girl, and they assume that this girl will grow up and marry and go to a different family, so she should not take the family property to those spaces. The moment, the earlier the parents starts thinking that it is very important to also give the girl child a share of his or her property to empower herself economically, the better for us. Because we've seen women and girls these days doing a lot with their resources, with the little opportunities they get. They are trying to change the narrative that women are not just supposed to be housewives, or they're supposed to be married off, but they can still do a lot with their lives and the resources they get from them. Yeah. So we've even seen families where a girl now becomes a heiress. You know, the parents will end up entrusting her with the resources of the family just to break that kind of bias. And maybe one thing I can add is that maybe by having, enacting policies, clear policies on gender discrimination, I think is also very key for us to eradicate biasness in our society. Because if we have such kinds of policies that eliminate discrimination between young boys and girls, women and men, it will change the mindset of people in terms of employment, in terms of opportunities like scholarship and education environment and all that. So there are a lot people can do. And maybe this basically one, let me mention, because it happens in family level where, you know, women, and we are the ones who push for this. When a woman is pregnant, she will organize a baby shower, and they have specific colors they'll put for a baby boy and a specific color for a baby girl. And you know, that is a gender bias, assuming that a boy should be surrounded with specific colors or specific toys, and then you assume that the girl will have specific toys like dolls and all that. That is already trying to teach, you know, it's already creating a bias among our kids. So I think by trying to make neutral decisions concerning our children is also very important, because these kids will end up growing thinking that they can do anything. Like well, I am a mother, and when my son was young, I used to plait his hair, and I used to put him, dress him in dresses, because when I was about to give birth, when I went to see my gynecologist, they checked, the scan told me that, said that the baby was a girl, and I did shopping for the girls, you know, with that kind of mentality. But the baby came out a boy. So I was like, okay, what happens? He has to wear all that, and you know, and people were like, this is a boy, you know, this is a boy, this is not a color of a boy. And I was like, no, whatever, it's his, let him wear it. So, you know, those kinds of mentality.
I have bought them, yes. No, I think I was reading someone who has already written something saying that all this really start in families, and women, we are the ones who take care of our families. We should, let me read it. We start breaking gender bias by educating women, because we are the ones taking care of the family, especially males. So the boys grow knowing their roles that were taught by their mothers. So the mindset starts with the mother. Gender roles should be an open topic to both kids. So I think really women have, and actually I have to say that you and Emmeline, you are all young mothers, and you know what you are talking about. Emmeline, am I right? You have also a son, eh?
No, a lady.
A girl. Oh,
yeah.
So you see, so it all depends really how you start preparing your child, but I'm sure your children will see you. They don't even have to have a discussion. They know these powerful women, how you are and what you think. With just the example, they will know. I want, Emmeline, what do you think? How do we break the bias? I want to bring a small example, and then you can continue. I think you guys have seen when this war between Russia and Ukraine started, women are leaving, women and children. And those who remained behind are men. So women have been attacking us that we, when everything is okay, we say about gender equality, but then when things become hot, we just run away. So those are things which I have been seeing. But it's also what we see. If you look in terms of, for example, in the police, there are not many police women. There are few, but not as men. Same with the military, but more even in the diplomacy. If you see, many diplomats are men, they are not women. Many foreign affairs ministers are men, they are not women. How do we break those kind of biases?
Biasness.
I'm listening, Emmeline.
Yes, Ige, thank you. Referring to our culture, traditionally, the traditional role doesn't allow women to be visible in the public sphere. Many women don't have the courage to work like men or to accomplish their dreams, thinking that what they want to do is for men. I have been inspired by my grandparent. My grandparent was a notable Mushingantahe. You understand in Kirundi, Mushingantahe.
And it's like, let's try to explain it in English. It's like, oh God, how can we say, like a respectable man in the village, or something, but it's more than that. Yeah, continue.
Yes, I have been inspired by him and her wife, my grandmother. They tried to find solutions when there is conflict in up country, but women didn't have enough place to work or to reconcile people. So I decided in me, I have to try to do what my grandparents did as a woman. It was not easy for me, but I tried to do it, and I started law so that I can contribute to peace building in my community, in my region, or in Africa. It was not easy for me. It was not easy, but I tried to do it. To break the bias for me is to convince women that they are able, they can do what men can do. They can become mediators, they can become presidents, why not? They can do great things men can do. That is what I can say about to break the bias. Women, we are able, but we need to be courageous. We need to be to have the perseverance so that we can get what we want to get. Yes,
exactly. That I like that word, perseverance. I know if there was a discussion between white and black people, we would say we have to show that we are able. But I think it's the same discussion when we talk about women. We are still in that phase of having to show that we are able. Unfortunately, we still have to prove ourselves. But I think there is no other way, because if we just leave it, there is no solution. I'm going to read some of the comments. This one is from Judith, saying currently society is raising women to be same as men, but they are not raising boys to be able to take up same roles in the house. Hence, this must start from family level as a way of breaking the bias, which I totally agree. Secondly, to also break the bias is very important to engage men in the conversation. Have men to men conversation on some of the negative cultural practices that affect women. Hold conversation with the traditional leaders, like the chief, who are the most respected people with the society. I can't agree more, Judith. What you said is totally true. And I hope our men who are here are also learning something. We know there are those men who are he for she. We need you to go and talk to your brothers, to talk to your fathers, your grandparents, your friends. Tell them what is negative and what is okay. Try to have a conversation, raise your sons and let them know that this is what a woman can do, a man can do that, a man can do, a woman can do. And especially to not keep especially some of the negative traditional things we have been living for a long time. I will just go to a more deep conversation to our audience, to our speakers today. Both of you have lived in countries which have been living war. Emmeline, I know Burundi, we have had a lot of crises, same as South Sudan. And you have been observing and seeing what is happening to you personally, but also to other women. How do you think women how are they affected by this conflict in terms of how is life of women get affected by conflict? Christine, you can start.
Okay, thank you. When you talk about the South Sudan conflict, it has really impacted negatively to both women and men, but the biggest percentage happens on the women. And when you start talking about all the human rights violations that happen during the war, like there's always been an increase in the rate of rape and sexual harassment, and women being used as weapon of war. We've seen scenarios where women and children are displaced, and women are left with the burden to lift the family, and that is taking responsibilities of the children and the relatives that they have tried to escape with from the conflict zone. And also we've seen that during these conflicts, women go through a lot of emotional and economic violence. And with that, there has been an increase in the rate of mental health in terms of trauma and maybe neglect, child neglect or something, where you find that a mother can see that she cannot do anything to her child, and she has to just look upon and do nothing about it. When you talk about the experiences, it goes back to women being the most affected during these conflicts. because most especially, as we mentioned earlier on, they tend to take the men to war and leave the women behind. And we have seen scenarios where, we've had scenarios where women are used as weapon of war for a group during conflict to come and to show their strength to their opponent. They will instead start by attacking and dehumanizing the women in those places where they fight from. So all this, in one way or the other, has increased the level of violence against women during conflict, most especially conflict-related sexual violence. Also, we've seen because women are looked at as a weaker sex, and they don't have access to maybe weapons and things that can protect them. They are left vulnerable in those spaces and during conflict. So I think those are some of the effects of war I can mention on women in particular. But also sometimes it's very important for us to have an open mind. We also have to acknowledge the fact that men also are vulnerable during conflict, and we've seen. We've read about scenarios where they become victims and their rights are violated to the extreme. So though the majority or the highest percentages on women, but we also have to look into how men go through a conflict environment. So I think that's what I can say.
Thank you very, very much. I want just to emphasize on two things you said. I don't know if it's a new thing, and because maybe now we have a lot of social media and what we get to know what happens, but the use of rape as a weapon, it's something which we are hearing more and more and more this in these years. Maybe it has been there in the past, but I think as time goes, you just be hearing those kind of things, and it's something we have been hearing a lot and a lot. The second thing I like you mentioned is also the way even women even men get affected by this kind of situation. Sometimes we just forget and we just keep talking about women, but also men get killed during the fights, and maybe women will have to now bear to raise children alone. So those kind of things we always to have to consider and understand how they affect. I am trying to see Emmeline. I think she has dropped. My colleague Kemi, if you see Emmeline back, you will let me know. But again, as I said, we can keep the conversation also here in the chat. Emmeline had left a comment saying, women can play an important role in their families, well accomplished their duty, their duties as women, wife, mothers, but they can also contribute to the development of their society. And then Noel said we had a day, everyone was coming out doing the performance of celebrating women, but they go back to their daily activities without change. There is also need to address mindset and attitude issue. Let's remember that there is a phase of ignorance to this. One of the ways of tackling this is prioritizing it on national agendas. Count me in this fight to break the bias. Women, you have all the potential. That's very, very true, Noel. By the way, I totally agree. I don't know in other countries, but in my country, in Burundi, on 8th of March, women really celebrate. My mother was reminding me, asking me, have you celebrated? And then the question comes in my mind, and I ask myself, does really 8th of March a day to just celebrate? Or it's also a day to really sit and ask ourselves, where have we gone? Where have we arrived? what have we achieved and what do we still to achieve. And sometimes the whole celebration take over the questions we still have and the things we need to tackle. Thank you very much, Noe, for bringing. I see Emmeline is back. Emmeline, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you again.
Very good. So we were talking about how do women, you have been in Burundi where you are not so young, you are young, but not so young to have not seen what happened in our country. How do you see women getting affected by war, by conflict?
Thank you, Iget. Women as men have been affected by conflict, but women have most affected than men. Some women has face violence, have been victims of hardship, displacement, and warfare. Some women was obliged to take the burden placed in them to hold community together because men was at war. War affected women economies.
We are losing Emmeline. Can you hear us?
As combatant or as the one who cook for combatant member. Among them, there are women.
We are struggling with Emmeline internet, but I think the point she's trying also to make is the burden of to have now to take up the community when now men are gone. As much as was saying that joke now men have been doing on us about women leaving Ukraine and leaving their men behind to fight. But I'm just thinking, even just psychologically, have to leave your man and have to run and go start a new life, take care of the children. It's not, maybe it's not about dying, but it's also a lot of struggles and troubles. And we have to recognize that we all get affected in one way or another by what happened to our in terms of war. Christine, tell me, all this time in South Sudan, but even in other countries, I'm sure you are connected to even people from outside South Sudan. What can young women in general and young women specifically really, what role can play to bring peace in their own communities, in their own countries?
I want you to just say that women can play a very big role in terms of creating peace in our communities. I will give a scenario of South Sudan during our 2013 conflict. We realized that after the conflict, when there was ceasefire, the parties to the conflict decided to have a peace talk with support of IGAD and other friends of South Sudan. And during the talks of the 2015 peace agreement, we did not see women placed anywhere in the process of the peace talks. Women were never close to the peace talks, and the parties had their conversations, agreed on things, and they were to implement the peace agreement. That was in some few months. It was, I think it was in 2016, because I can't say that it was a year after, because I'm not sure if it was a year after the 2015 peace agreement that the country was taken back to war. And women at that time realized that, no, look, we could have played a bigger role in that process and maybe prevented this 2016 to happen. Through different platforms, women did a lot of advocacy in terms of claiming their spaces to effectively participate in the peace processes. To a point, they had to become signatories. They lobbied with IGAD, they lobbied with different partners, and they got an opportunity to have a representative at the peace talks during the high-level revitalization forum that started in 2017. I mean 2018. So also back at home, as the talks was happening in Addis, women were doing a lot of peace building programs and activities. First of all, they did a lot of awareness to their respective communities, and specifically to the young people who were actively engaged in the conflict. And in one way or the other, it created a change at a particular point, but still these people were being commanded by other people, and it is a command, and if we are going to war, people will go to war. But women did not stop. They did a lot of advocacy, they did a lot of peace building programs, they did a lot of lobbying with different entities to ensure that the parties to the conflict sign a peace deal. I remember the time where women mobilized, during the peace talks, women mobilized religious leaders to meet with the key, let me say, they call them principals to the parties. And these women went and talked to them one-on-one. And, they were expressing themselves, we are the mothers, we have been going through this, but we want you to put an end to this. So they played a big role in terms of engaging the parties directly. And also women did peace building programs, like in terms of peace, activities like workshops, trainings, mediation programs. Like I personally happen to be one of the young women mediators who was trained by IPHRD Africa with support from NCA, that is the Norwegian Act Alliance, Touch Aid Act Alliance, and IGAD. So most especially like the young women, for example, a young woman was selected to be a delegate to represent the youth during the high-level revitalization forum. And at her capacity, she was one person to represent a bigger population outside. So she mobilized young people to come and support her. And this is where the South Sudan Youth Organization Coalition came out of, because we mobilized ourselves and gathered, opinions and views, and we used social platforms like WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups to just share information so that people can share their opinions and see how we can support our delegate to the talks. And at the end of it all, we saw that whatever the needs and the demands the women placed was always agreed upon. Like, for example, the aspect of the 35%, the aspect of, there was a time that our parties were not seeing eye to eye, and they wanted to quit the talks, but women lobbied for them to meet face to face. And that was, for example, the president and the first vice president were made to meet face to face and talk, because if the talks could not do anything, let the two people meet and talk, and they air out their issues.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, sorry to cut you.
It's okay.
You guys have been doing a lot, and you have seen a lot of women. I have respect really for many women who put themselves out there and really fight, especially during these times of when there is a peace process going on and what. Now you are in a position of a national coordinator for the coalition. Do you think really the place you are given is enough at this time, or you feel like there is still a lot of things to do?
The spaces we're given as young women, most especially in the youth platform, is not enough. One thing I should let you know is that in our society, in our country, when they talk about youth, basically they assume that they are male. They will assume that these are supposed to be male, because I have been in processes where I am questioned whether I am representing youth or or I'm representing women, because to them they think a male, the youth will always be male. So young women are also facing that as a challenge, and it leaves us marginalized, because when we go to the women's spaces, women will claim, you're young, you're supposed to be in the platforms of the youth. And when we go to the youth spaces, we have a society that assumes that the youth are supposed to be men. So women are young women are always left out in the process of engaging. But trust me, we did not let that stop us from engaging. As I mentioned earlier on, our youth delegate to the agreement, who is a signatory, is a female, because she took up her space and also gathered support from both male and female. And also, I myself, as the National Youth Coordinator, we were elected. I was elected into office by the youth members to the coalition. So though there are very many challenges in terms of holding to that position, but we are trying to fight that, break that bias, and claiming spaces for young women in peace processes and every other political processes or community engagements that we come across.
Thank you very, very much, Christine, for those ideas. I want to bring Emmeline. Time is running, but I will also start with Emmeline. You are even a researcher. You know a lot about what is happening, what happened in Burundi with peace talks in the 1990s, with the recent of 2015, and what which role do you see women have been playing, and how do you see that?
Thank you, Iget. Let me talk about the Arusha peace talk. In 1998, we had the first Arusha peace talk, where women did not have the right to be there, but some women tried and did lobbying so that they can participate in that Arusha peace talk. So they got the opportunity to be observer, but they did not have the right to ask a question. For example, the right to, yes, it was not easy for them, but those women who had the courage to go forward, they tried their best. They did some workshops at national level. They organized some forums, and many organizations have been created, such as Dushire Hamwe and other organizations, other groups, which was focused on peace building. The place that women have had was not enough, and then now also I can say that it is not enough, after we recognize that there have been a resolution if I'm not mistaken, it was 13 and 25 resolution related to women, peace and security. That comes to demonstrate that women didn't have enough space in peace talks, but as we may find in the National Action Plan of 20, if I'm not mistaken, is about 2011, 2016. The country has the obligation to include that resolution into the national plan. It is I can say that it is a good step for women to be considered in peace building works or programs.
I think there is one thing you two have said, and I want to emphasize on that. Women are never called; they have to find their way there. So if you look how this what happened in Burundi, what happened in South Sudan, men go and talk, and then women have to fight. Just even to get the right to even be an observer. It's not just something from South Sudan and Burundi. I think you guys might have watched one of the videos of the war in Liberia. You see how the Liberian women can have taken, like, said, you know what, we are coming, go travel to Senegal where the talks were happening, and sitting and telling the men, you are not leaving this place. You guys are enjoying being in a hotel, but people are dying. So you have to agree, and women will sit down, and the men can't do anything about it till they have to resolve those conflicts. So really, thank you very much for bringing that idea. Is what we were.
I want to let you know that South Sudanese women did that in Addis. They reached a point of, staying at the doors of the conference hall, and saying we are not leaving here until people agree. So it is either we agree or we are not leaving this place. So I think that also made the men know that these women were serious and they really needed to have the peace more than anything else.
Exactly. I think those are things we are learning of, saying, even if they don't call us, let's call ourselves and find space where people are negotiating, and we ask for our space also to talk. There is a lot of, we can be creative in many ways, but we shouldn't just sit behind and watch and say, oh, nothing can be done because they didn't call us. Thank you very much, Emmeline and Christine. Stay here. You will give us parting shot, but now I just want to hear few members who are here. I can read one or two messages. I think women play, this is Carol Jebet, women play a vital role in early warning system and conflict resolution and peace building, though sometimes they lack platforms. If capacity building powered to fully participate in peace processes, women can be so influential and very, very good. I want to hear from our audience. If anyone wants to make a comment, to contribute, you can raise your hand and then I will call you. Anyone want to say something? I see, yes, I see Wani and then Judith. Wani, to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that discussion. I really appreciate the panelists regards to their deep insight when it comes to the role of women in peace and security. Indeed, it is very critical and for women to be engaged, to be partners in terms of when it comes to issue to deal with peace and security, because without a consultative effort when it comes to enforcing or creating development comes with the aspect of peace. And without security, the two aspects will not come in. That means we really need to emphasize more in terms of creating equality and removing the biasness as stated by the panelists. But I may just throw this question to the panelists in regards to Emily and Christine. What do you think that can best be done in terms of research to change the peace and security architecture when it comes to at a national level that will really reframe the aspect of engagement as to be a legal aspect? Thank you.
I don't know if they got the question well. Can you type the question so that after Judith they can read the question and write and answer. Judith.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
Actually,
evening.
mine is just a comment. Maybe I'm just adding some few things. Christine, in relation to how young women are promoted. But yeah, so I want to also draw to your attention that there's a lot of work that currently young women are doing, especially here in South Sudan, in different capacities. Like in the current parliament, we have a lot of young people who are like the members of parliament, and these different people are currently working on different policies, that can favor also women as well as the youth. As I had mentioned earlier on, when you organize an event, even when you send an invite that you wanted 5 youths, they definitely send all men. They don't send women, and these are still also around challenges. And then at the grassroots, we have so many different women, grassroots and also next level. We have women who are in the civil society, conducting, advocating for the rights of women, so activism, working on different policies based on the issues that they identify. And then we also have, not forgetting, the women in the business who are doing different aspects of entrepreneurship, ensuring that they're able to put food on the table. As we all know, during conflict, majority of them have passed on by women who's like the head of the family, maybe because they have lost their husband, or the husband is at war, something like that. And then also including the women in agriculture as well. They're doing a lot in bringing something to the table. And there are women currently who are also mediators, leading dialogues within the communities. For example, in one of the states I came across, there was this group in 2016 that actually protested because there was a rampant issues around conflict. Good night, their husband said, particular tribe called Murle, but then in English it's translated as the virgins. So like that particular campaign continued until the conflict was able to reduce. And as I talk, communities creating awareness, around peaceful coexistence as well. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for those good examples. By the way, there are women, especially in community level, who are doing a lot and a lot. I see Opoka Christopher Richard said, I think while we get consumed by the fight to get women at the door and at the decision-making table, that must not be an end in and by itself. Christopher, do you want to elaborate more your thoughts on that? Okay, anyone who wants to say something else?
I just wanted to say something concerning what Judith said. For example, there are some societies or communities in South Sudan where they can effectively contribute, where women can play a very big role in terms of conflict mitigation. And I was amazed to get to know that these women, most especially a group of elderly women who take charge of managing and mitigating conflict in their community, to a point that even the chiefs in their community gives them power to make a decision, because they are asked to talk to their young people as their mothers. For example, like when the young people want to go and fight, these women will be given information that this group of people want to go and attack. They will go and meet these people face to face and tell them, do you know what? We are your mothers, and we are not going to allow you to go and fight. If there's anything else, you better use dialogue. And we've seen that in a particular way has limited the level of conflict in those respective communities. And also, as Judith mentioned earlier on, a lot of civil society, women in the civil society arena of platform are engaging in different activities to ensure that at least the communities can embrace the aspect of peaceful ways of resolving conflict. Like instead of having violent measures, they advocate for peaceful measures, and also in one way build the capacity of leaders in the society to ensure that they use peaceful mechanisms to address conflict. So this has helped a lot in terms of limiting community violence.
Yeah. No, thank you very much for those additions. Sabila, you had raised the hand. Do you want to say something?
Yes, I want to add something. Thank you very much to the panelists and the moderator. It has been a very fruitful discussions to have women on board to discuss the issues of women and how the contribution of women in the community. And I'm so much obliged to see young women leading the discussion. That is a credit to the organizers. Thank you very much.
We are losing Sabila.
Thank you very much, my sister, for giving in your voices. I just want to say, in South Sudan, women and hello.
We are kind of losing you a bit. Okay, let's go to Opoka. Just guys, the time is running. Let's just use 1 minute. Opoka to you, and then I think Noel, and then we conclude. Opoka Christopher, you can unmute. Hello. Okay. Noel.
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy for this fruitful discussion, and it's really important for us as an Africa. As you know, our history, women were just like something else, were not even counted. But now it's time for the women. For me, it's not a question. I'm just happy that if you look at the entire African continent, women in power are working very hard. But some are just taking up space. This space they are taking up can also take us back. It's also crucial for us to recognize the men who have extended opportunities for these women. You know, women have been in good position in different disciplines. So we have to celebrate these wins, but we have to tell them, my advice is for they have to stand at the top. So to keep pushing who in top, they should be pushing those who are not in top. So women leadership can really, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Noel. Opoka, I don't know what we can do. You try to unmute. Meanwhile, Sabila, do you want to finish your submission? Just use 30 seconds and then we conclude.
I think I have issues with my the network where I am. Let's just continue. Okay. Thank you very much for this chance.
No problem. Thank you very much. I just want to give a chance to our panelists to just say something to help us conclude this discussion. Especially, I am checking if one question, he has put the question down, because me, I had not gotten it well. I'm not sure if Christine and Emmeline got one question. Did you guys get his question?
If I'm to remember well, he was just asking if what can we do in terms of research. I don't know whether on women engagement in peace process or something like that. And I really think it's high time that if I'm to respond to the question, if that is how it came out, I think it's high time we should start think of maybe do an assessment on efforts we young women are putting, or women in general are putting towards peace building programs. And maybe we also look into the challenges they encounter while doing those peace building programs. And if we get the challenges, we also have to come up with solutions on how we can address those challenges. And also maybe if we can look into digitalizing peace programs so that you know, the young generation is so much into digital. So if we can digitalize the peace building programs so that we can reach out to a vast young population, so that they, to ensure that they grow up with the mentality of, I mean, a better mentality of addressing conflict in their societies in a digital format. So I think the aspect of research is very important. Because we know women are doing much, but we also know they encounter challenges, and how are we going to address these challenges if we don't understand the context of work? I mean, the context of work they are dealing in. Because I know if you are to mention a challenge, when I look into South Sudan context, most women have been threatened, harassed, and many other things happen because they're engaging in peace building initiatives or peace processes. So in one way or the other, that and also the aspect of intimidation, where women are assumed that if they do engage in these processes, they will not take care of their families. So it is better for them to think about taking care of families than engaging in peace processes. And we also assume a lot that peace processes are majorly meant for men, and leave out the majority of the women who are actually affected by conflict. So those kinds of concerns can be done through research, so that we can come up with a clear way forward or action points on how to support women to effectively engage in peace processes. I just hope it answers.
Yeah, no, I think it does. Emmeline, what would you say about research in this area, and then make your concluding remarks?
Thank you, Iget. First of all, I can thanks many some organizations and people who did research related to women on peace building areas to peace building, men in peace. It is a good step, but we need also to continue to do researches, because we still having something to discover and to share with others, so that we can live in peaceable societies. Other things is that I can encourage young women to have the courage, the patience to support men in peace building activities, to prevent conflict, because as women we are more affected more than men, and we need to reinforce gender equality in the areas of peace building. We need to face all challenges so that we can be where we want to be as women. Thank you again.
Thank you very, very much. I would just want to read a comment. Women and gender equality organization, as well as gender actors, should advocate for implementation of National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security, the UN Security Council 1325. And then women, I think it's the same comment, in every African country. Then Martha said, women need to stand up for their own peace and right. Therefore, there is a need to increase the capacity of women to exercise their basic and legal right fully. Thank you very much. So sorry for Opoka, who has not been able to say something. But again, I want to say very much thank you to our panelists, Christine Kide from South Sudan and Emmeline Hakizimana from Burundi. These are they are young mothers who people will always say they don't have time, but they have time. That's why they are here and sharing with us this very good insight. I just want to recognize our consortium members from South Sudan who supported us for this discussion, Adrenet and Seford. Thank you very much. I think I had seen even some consortium from Burundi, SIAD Burundi, but I think they have dropped. Thank you very, very much to everyone who has been here. I can't thank enough our speakers of today. You have been really good and gave us a lot of good insight. Have a great evening. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Emmeline. And thank you to the ULEAD team, which also supported this. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Good night. Put your video and then you dance to our unit.
Bye.
Young men and women, with the pillars, with the future, here we are, let's join together, with ability to change communities, with love, with peace, to respond to our needs.